The morning sun came through the hospital window, soft and golden like honey spreading across the white sheets where little Emma lay watching the birds outside with eyes that held too much sadness for a 7-year-old child she had not walked in almost 6 months, not since the accident that took her father and left her mother Catherine broken in ways that went far beyond the physical. The doctors had tried everything. Specialists from the finest hospitals examined Emma, ran tests, prescribed treatments, but her legs simply would not work. There was no medical reason. They could find no damage to her spine, no injury to her nerves. The doctors called it psychosomatic, told Catherine that sometimes trauma locks itself in the body in ways science cannot quite explain. Catherine sat by her daughter's bedside day after day, watching her baby girl fade a little more each week. The insurance had run out months ago. The savings were gone. The big house in the suburbs had been sold. And now they lived in a small apartment where Catherine worked from home doing data entry. Late into the night trying to keep them afloat. She was 51 years old and felt like she had aged 20 years in the past 6 months. Her hair had gone gray. Her face was lined with worry and grief, and some mornings she did not know how she would find the strength to get out of bed. But she did, because Emma needed her, because giving up was not an option when your child was counting on you. The hospital social worker had suggested a new therapy program run by volunteers in the community. Catherine had agreed, mostly because it was free, and partly because she had run out of options. She did not expect much. How could volunteers succeed where trained specialists had failed? But she was desperate, and desperation makes us willing to try anything. That is how they met Thomas Miller. He arrived at Emma's room on a Thursday afternoon carrying a worn backpack and wearing faded jeans and a simple flannel shirt. He was maybe 5, with kind eyes and calloused hands, and a gentle smile that reached all the way to his soul. "Hello there, Emma," he said softly, pulling up a chair beside her bed. "My name is Tom, and I heard you might like some company." Emma looked at him suspiciously as she looked at all the adults who came and went, promising to help. "I cannot walk," she said flatly, as if this would make him leave like so many others had. "I know," Tom replied easily. "That is okay. We do not need to walk to be friends." Something in his voice made Catherine look up from her phone where she had been scrolling through job listings. There was no pity in his tone, no false cheerfulness, just acceptance. Tom started coming 3 times a week. He never talked about walking or therapy or getting better. Instead, he brought books and read to Emma, brought colored pencils, and they drew pictures together. Told her stories about his own daughter, Lucy, who had passed away 5 years ago when she was just about Emma's age. She had a big laugh, Tom said one afternoon, his voice soft with memory, the kind that made everyone around her start laughing too, even if they did not know what was funny. "What happened to her?" Emma asked quietly. "She got very sick," Tom answered gently. "The doctors tried everything, but sometimes medicine is not enough. Sometimes people we love have to leave us, and all we can do is remember them with love instead of just sadness." Emma was quiet for a long moment. "My daddy died," she whispered. "I know, sweetheart," Tom said, "and I bet you miss him very much." Emma nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. It was the first time she had cried since the accident. Catherine stood frozen in the doorway, watching this stranger give her daughter permission to grieve, something all the therapists and counselors had not been able to do. Over the following weeks, something began to shift. Tom brought his guitar and sang old folk songs that made Emma smile. He brought puzzles, and they worked on them together, his patient hands helping her small fingers find the right pieces. He never rushed her, never pushed, never made her feel broken. One day he brought a box of old photographs. "These are pictures of Lucy," he said, spreading them on the bed. "I thought maybe you would like to see her. She had the same color hair as you." Emma looked at the photos of a smiling girl on a swing at a birthday party holding a puppy. "She was pretty," Emma said softly. "She was," Tom agreed, "and she was brave. Just like you." "I am not brave," Emma said. "Brave people can walk." Tom shook his head gently. "Brave is not about walking, Emma. Brave is about getting up every morning when your heart is broken. Brave is about letting people love you when you are scared. Brave is about staying in this world even when someone you love had to leave it." His words hung in the air, simple and true. Catherine found herself crying quietly in the hallway. This man, this stranger, understood grief in a way no one else had. After 2 months of visits, Tom asked Emma if she would like to try something. What she asked cautiously. I thought maybe we could sit in the garden, he said. Just sit outside in the sunshine we could. Bring a blanket and have a picnic. Emma had not left her room in weeks. I do not know, she said, uncertainty flickering across her face. We will go slow, Tom promised. And if you want to come back inside, we will, I promise. Catherine watched as Tom gently lifted Emma into a wheelchair and pushed her down the hallway. She followed behind, her heart in her throat, in the garden. Tom spread a blanket under a big oak tree and carefully helped Emma onto it. The sunshine was warm and bright birds were singing in the branches above. For the first time in months, Emma smiled a real smile. It is nice here, she said. It is. Tom agreed. Lucy and I used to have picnics like this. She loved being outside. They sat together eating sandwiches Catherine had packed, and Tom told stories about Lucy's adventures about the time. She tried to teach the neighbor's cat to swim, about the treehouse they built together, about the songs she made up. Emma listened, soaking in these stories of a girl who was loved and remembered. Do you think, she asked quietly, that my daddy remembers me where he is? Tom reached over and took her small hand in his. I know he does, Emma. Love does not end when someone dies. It just changes form. Your daddy's love for you is still here in your heart, and it always will be. Something profound happened in that moment. Emma took a deep breath as if she'd been holding it for 6 months. I want to stand up, she said suddenly. Catherine gasped, but Tom remained calm. Okay, he said, let's try, but remember, it is okay if it does not work today. There is no hurry. He stood and held out his hands. Emma reached up and gripped them slowly, carefully. She pulled herself up. Her legs shook violently. Catherine rushed forward. But Tom shook his head gently, asking her to wait. You are doing great, Emma, he said softly. Just breathe. You are safe. I have got you, Emma. Stood there wobbling like a newborn fawn, tears streaming down her face. My legs hurt, she whispered. No, Tom said, they are waking up. It is okay to hurt sometimes. Hurt means we are healing for 30 seconds. Emma stood then, her legs gave out, and Tom caught her, lowering her gently back to the blanket. Catherine was crying. Catherine was always crying these days, but these were different tears. You did it, baby. She sobbed. You stood up. Emma looked up at Tom with wonder in her eyes. I stood up, she repeated as if she could not quite believe it. Over the next few weeks, Emma practiced standing. Every day, Tom was always there, patient and encouraging. Never pushing, just believing. 5 weeks after that first picnic, Emma took her first step. Then another, then another. She walked across the garden and into her mother's arms, and they both collapsed to the ground, crying and laughing. Tom stood back, watching, with quiet joy on his face. The doctors were amazed. They ran more tests, trying to understand what had changed, but Catherine knew. It was not medicine that healed her daughter. It was love. It was someone who understood grief and loss, showing Emma that it was possible to carry that weight and still move forward. It was Tom's patient presence, teaching her that healing happens in its own time and cannot be rushed. It was his stories of Lucy showing Emma that people we love never really leave us. 6 months later, Emma was running, playing, going to school like any other child. The doctors called it a miracle. Catherine called it grace. Tom just smiled his gentle smile and said he was glad to help. On the last day of the therapy program, Catherine invited Tom to their apartment for dinner. As they ate, Emma chattered happily about school, about her friends, about the dance recital she wanted to join. Same patient attention he had always given her. After dinner, when Emma was in bed, Catherine sat across from Tom at the small kitchen table. I do not know how to thank you. She said, you gave me my daughter back. Tom shook his head. Emma did the hard work, he said. She decided to heal. I just reminded her that it was possible. Why did you do it? Catherine asked. Why did you spend so much time with us? You could have been with your own family. Tom was quiet for a moment. After Lucy died, he said slowly. I thought I would die too, not physically, but inside. I thought I could never feel joy again, never have purpose. And then I realized that Lucy would not want that. She would want me to take all that love I had for her and give it to someone else. So that is what I do. I volunteer and help other children because every time I do, I feel her with me. I feel her love working through me. He looked at Catherine with eyes full of gentle wisdom. Grief does not have to be the end, he said. It can be a beginning. If we let it, we can choose to let our loss make us bitter, or we can let it make us better. We can close our hearts, or we can open them even wider and love even more fiercely. Because we know how precious and fragile life is, asterisk. Catherine reached across the table and took his hand. Asterisk, thank you. She whispered, not just for Emma, but for reminding me how to hope again. Tom smiled. We save each other, he said simply. That is what people do, asterisk, years later. When Emma graduated from high school, Catherine and Tom sat together in the audience, watching her walk across the stage, asterisk. Emma had grown into a beautiful, confident young woman who volunteered at the children's hospital. Helping other kids who could not walk, asterisk, she told them the same stories Tom had told her, asterisk stories. About grief and healing, about love that never dies, about the courage it takes to stand up and try again. Asterisk and Tom watched with tears in his eyes, knowing that Lucy's love was still rippling out into the world's, asterisk, still healing, still helping, still mattering, asterisk, because that is what love does not end when we die. It transforms, it multiplies. It lives on in every act of kindness, every moment of grace, every time we choose to help another human being carry their burden, asterisk. The doctors never understood how Emma healed, asterisk. They wrote papers about spontaneous recovery, about the mysteries of the human mind and body, asterisk. But Catherine and Tom and Emma knew the truth. Sometimes what heals us is not medicine or science. Sometimes what heals us is simply being seen, being heard, being loved, exactly. As we are in our brokenness, being reminded that we are not alone, that grief is not the end of the story, asterisk, that we can stand up and try again, that love is stronger than lozenge, that sometimes the greatest miracles come not from wealth or expertise, but from one broken heart reaching out to heal another, from a single father who lost his daughter finding purpose in helping someone else's child, asterisk, from simple human kindness offered freely with no expectation of reward, asterisk. That is the kind of healing that matters most, the kind that touches not just the body but the soul, the kind that reminds us we are all connected, all capable of being instruments of grace, all able to help each other stand, asterisk, one small act of love at a time.